Hi everyone, this next video sequence is called Making Space. So it's a head to toe full body release and stretch out. Things that you might need for class are a mat. If you don't have a mat, that's totally fine. But you might like a towel just to assist you with some of the stretches that we do, and perhaps a pillow for underneath the head once we make our way down to the floor. Let's get started. So we'll start standing towards the end of your mat, feet hip distance apart and parallel. So we want the toes to be facing forward. And then just loosening off the shoulders a little with some shoulder rolls. We'll take a breath in to shrug and then let them drop. And then what we'll start to do is spinal roll our way down to a forward fold. So we're just allowing the head to be heavy, chin to chest, tipping forward. And then as if you've got a brick sort of pulling you from the crown of the head forward and down. And start to soften your knees a little. And then just allowing the upper body to melt forward and down, articulating this movement as much as possible. So it's a slow release of each vertebrae one at a time until you make your way into a nice and comfortable forward fold. So we want a pretty generous bend in the knees here, so you're not just pulling from the lower back and hamstrings. Maybe your belly is just resting there on the thighs. And if you can, just really releasing the weight of the head so you feel this traction running up the whole back chain of the body. So feeling the stretch from the back of your calves, back of the legs, across the lower back, right up the length of the spine and down the back of the neck. And the shoulders are just hanging loose there, head nice and heavy. And then we'll start to make our way back up to standing through a spinal roll. So pressing into your feet, all four corners of your feet, really pressing into your mat here. Strengthen the muscles of your legs, so muscles hug to bone. Keep that bend in the knees and slowly begin to roll your way back up to standing. Restacking the spine slowly, one vertebra at a time. Shoulders, neck, head come up last. And roll the shoulders back. And then we'll begin that motion again, breathing in to begin. And then exhale, tipping the head forward, letting the shoulders roll forward. Bit of core engagement here, so thinking navel to spine to protect the lower back as you roll your way down. Coming into a nice heavy forward fold, maybe even nodding the head a few times, yes and no. And then one more time, we'll roll our way back up to standing. So strong legs, strong core. Begin to stack the lower back, middle back follows, upper back, shoulders, neck, head, come up last. Roll the shoulders back. Good. And we'll make our way down to the floor one more time into a forward fold. So really great movement to do first thing in the morning to feel a little taller. Good. From here, let's hold on to the inner seam of the elbows and really just let the weight of the arms drop forward, weight of the head drop. So head weighs about 7 kilos. It's like a bowling ball. So if you can really just let it relax, create more opening for the whole back chain of the body. Let's bend the knees a little more until your hands find the floor. Slowly start to walk them forward and then mindfully dropping the knees onto the floor, and we'll end up in a 4-point kneeling position. You can untuck the toes. From here, we're aligning our wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Working through some spinal flexion and extension work now, we'll breathe in to look forward, letting the belly drop and the pelvis tip. And then exhale, tuck the pelvis under, round and dome through the spine. Breathing in, collarbones broaden, heart lifts or shines forward. And then exhale, think of the back of your heart reaching up to the sky. So moving through cat and cow pose. Making space for the front of the chest and shoulders, getting that nice stretch through the front of the belly. And then as you exhale, opening through the back of the shoulders and creating space there between each vertebra. Incorporating the breath with the movement, we inhale to look forward, roll the shoulders back. Exhale to round. Let's do one more round of cat-cow. Then we'll bring the toes together to touch. Widen the space between the knees, so knees as wide as feels comfortable. And then we'll begin to press the sit bones or the hips back towards your heels, reaching the arms long, and then resting the head on your mat. Extended child's pose. So if you like, you can stack the hands one on top of the other and just create a bit of height for underneath the head. Resting the forehead on your palms. And then just thinking about the hips really sinking back towards your heels. So here we begin to open up along or across the lower back, as well as the inner thighs and hips. This is a really passive, relaxing pose in yoga. Restorative. We begin to focus our breath into the back space of the body, so between the shoulder blades, back of the heart, breathing into that space, filling the rib cage up with breath. And then as you exhale, just allowing everything to soften. We'll start to reach the arms forward now. Fingertips clawing into the mat, almost like cats sort of clawing into carpet. And then we'll start to walk the hands off of the mat and over to your right side. So hips are still sinking down to your heels, but really reaching and extending out of the left arm and left side body. So feeling this big side body stretch around the obliques, so side waist on the left side. The left rib cage, working all the way up into your shoulder and down the left arm. And walking your hands back to the center of the mat and across to the left side. This time focusing or feeling that stretch all the way down the right side of the body. Maybe sending your breath there too. So just taking a few breaths into the right rib cage. Good. And we'll walk the hands back to center. So onto the front body and just giving the hips a bit of a wiggle out. So releasing any tension there through the lower back. We'll start to move into a quadricep and hip flexor stretch. So taking hold of the right foot, bringing the right heel as close into the bottom as you can get. If this is a little bit too hard or sort of struggling to reach the foot here, you can always come onto your side and work from there. Otherwise, onto the front body. And this is a really active stretch. So we're thinking of lengthening through the lower back or pressing the front of the pelvis into your mat as you pull the heel in towards your bottom. So you'll feel this through the front of the thigh, maybe even working into the front of the hip and down into the knee if you're super tight. You can let the chin rest on the mat or on a palm. And then slowly release that side and just heel, toe the feet a few times, letting the legs roll in and out. Releasing before coming on to the other side. And when you're ready, taking hold of the left heel Good. Again, really activating this stretch. So rolling the pelvis under. So when I say that, it means the base of your spine, if you think of the tailbone or the very bottom of your spine, rolling sort of down towards the floor. So instead of a big arch in the lower back, we're thinking of lengthening or almost sort of flattening out that space. If you're like me and you have super tight quads, you might find that the knees starting to sort of flare out to the side. Can you keep your knee aligned with your hip? A few more breaths to hold. And then slowly releasing, and again, just rolling the legs in and out, maybe wriggling out through the hips. And we'll make our way onto our back next. Just rolling over onto your back. So from here you might need your towel close to you or your pillows, and we'll give the knees a nice big hug here. So squeezing the knees and then release. And again, squeeze and release. Hands on the knees, we'll begin to spiral the knees out in opposite directions. So almost sort of like butterfly legs here. And what we're doing is bringing some synovial fluid into the ball and socket joint of the hips. So starting to sort of lubricate the hip joint. Reversing those circles. You can make those movements as big or as small as you like. So the bigger the circles, the more you'll sort of feel a massage right into the back of the pelvis, the sacrum and the lower back. The smaller of the circles, you just isolate that a little more. Good. Let's take hold of your right knee, lengthen the left leg long. Squeeze the right knee in towards your chest and activate the left leg. So flex the left foot like you're sort of trying to keep a door shut with the left foot. Left side is active. Back of the left thigh draws down towards the mat. Sort of like the scissoring action of the legs. Feeling this stretch through the front of the left hip, but also a bit of compression there through the right hip crease. From there, we'll slide the left foot back onto the floor, so bending the left knee. Take hold behind your right leg and start to extend the leg. We'll flex and point the foot a few times. So as you flex, feeling this stretch through the back of the leg. As you point, a bit of a stretch through the front of the shin. And this is where you might want to use your towel to deepen the stretch a little. So if you have a towel, just wrapping it across the sole of the foot, relaxing the shoulders. If you don't, you can always just stay holding onto the back of the leg. Toes turn down towards you and your heel lifts up to the sky. See if you can relax the arms, relax your shoulders, and we'll hold this stretch for a few breaths. So opening through the back of the leg, so feeling it in the belly of the hamstring and working into the calf muscle. And generally with tight hamstrings, they tend to pull on the lower back. So if you have lots of lower back tension, this is a really important stretch to do. And in yoga, we search for space in the body by using our breath. As we breathe in, we search or try to find space in the body, and as we exhale, we move into that space. So you may find that you can move a little deeper with each exhalation. Soften your eyes. Try not to hold the stretch with your facial muscles. If you're creating tension in other places of the body, just let it go and focus on the stretch through the back of the leg. I'm going to shift into a hip and glute stretch from here, so you can take the towel away. we'll cross the right ankle over your left thigh. And then either holding here if this is enough, or if you like, you can start to lift the left foot off of the floor and find a bind. So taking hold behind the left thigh, figure 4 hip stretch, or our reverse pigeon pose, we call it in yoga. The focus here is on opening through the right hip, and it's an active stretch, meaning we're using muscle energy to hold this stretch. Our right foot is flexed to stabilize the knee joint. We're pulling the left side in towards the body as we use muscle energy to press the right knee away from the body. So push-pull action. And again, with this stretch, we've got super tight glutes. We'll tend to clench the jaw or hold the breath. Loosen grit of the teeth. Breathe into the right hip. Beautiful. From here, we'll start to move into a binded twist. So releasing the clasp of the hands, arms will reach out into a T position. Right leg crosses all the way over the left. Then we're just going to allow the knees to drop across to our left side. So this is a pretty deep twist. If it feels uncomfortable at all, release the bind of the legs and just let the legs rest one on top of the other at a right angle. So the legs are nice and heavy here. Our arms are in line with the shoulders, palms facing up to the sky. With the palms facing up, we'll get a nice stretch all the way across the chest and the front of the shoulders. Eyes can look up to the sky, or if you'd like to deepen the twist, we can look across to our right side. So legs are heading to the left, eyes are looking across to the right. Twists are really important movement for the body. Creates mobility in the spine, but it's also really effective for digestion, giving the internal organs a massage, rinsing out internal organs. So then when we release the twist, new blood flow heads straight to the organs. And we'll slowly release that, so eyes looking back to the sky. Use a little core strength here to lift the knees back up to center. If the legs were in a bind, uncross the legs. Just shimmy out the hips here. So feet hip distance apart. You can make this movement nice and big if you like, sort of like windscreen wipers on a car window. Let's get a nice massage across the lower back. And then we'll move on to the left side. So left knee hug, nice tight bind across the left shin, extend the right. Push and pull action. Really active through the right foot. Press the heel away from you. And then release that muscle energy and slide the right foot onto the floor, making your way into your back of leg stretch, holding behind the left thigh. Point and flex the foot a few times. And then if you want to move into a deeper stretch, taking hold of your towel and placing the towel along the base of your left foot. Otherwise, just holding here with the hands. If you are holding with the hands, keeping the foot flexed here for a few breaths. And see if you can let the sort of pelvis heavy. So we'll tend to want to sort of lift the bottom off of the floor. Think of the whole body sort of sinking into the mat here. We'll move into our figure 4 hip stretch, crossing the left ankle over your right thigh. And then choosing to either stay here or deepen the stretch by lifting the right leg, taking hold behind the right thigh. You can also use a towel in this stretch too, if that's pretty hard to access a full bind, you can wrap the towel around the back of the right thigh and pull in from there. Steady, slow breaths into the left hip. Let's move into our binded twist now. So crossing the right leg all the way, or the left leg, sorry, all the way over the right. Arms opening up into a nice wide T position, and then heavy legs just dropping across to the left side now. And you might find they make a connection with the floor, or they might sort of just be hanging in space. And see if you can let any tension go around the pelvis and hips and the legs. So if they're starting to grit, especially sort of around the hip flexors or in between the thighs, release that bind. Shoulders stay grounded. See if you can keep the back of the shoulders connected with your mat. And then if you choose, you can increase the twist with a look over to your left. We'll take some nice big deep breaths into the left rib cage. So again, with yoga, we incorporate the breath to assist with opening the body. So the more that we can breathe, the more we send flowing oxygen into those muscles to release and relax. Let's release out of that twist, bringing the legs back up, uncross, soles of the feet to the floor, and a little windscreen wipe action here, side to side. Good. Let's give ourselves a big hug here. So pulling in knees to chest nice and tight, and then reach out long, full body stretch. Get long from fingers to toes. Feeling that stretch right through the front and the side of the body. And then again, tucking in, this time lifting head, neck and shoulders, rounding through the back body. And if you like, you can hold on behind the thighs, bit of core strength to rock forward and back along the length of the spine. From there, we'll come into a seated position and flip around. If you need pillows for underneath the hips to give yourself a bit of height, go for it. Otherwise, cross-legged or soles of the feet together and diamond shape. And we'll just finish off the class with some upper body shoulder rolls. Good. We'll bring one arm across the body, holding on here. See if you can avoid twisting all the way to the side. Back of shoulder stretch. If you've got the flexibility or availability to do so, you can come into a full bind, so eagle arms here, palms to palms touch. Otherwise, just a gentle pull across. If you're here, we want to lift the elbows in line with the chin and gently sort of drag the palms away from the face. Still sitting up nice and tall. Good, release the bind, wriggle out the shoulders, moving on to the other side. Again, if it's there, you can come into that full bind, lift the elbows and pull away. Good. Slowly releasing that bind, a little wriggle out, hands by your side. We're moving right ear to right shoulder. Shoulders stay level. And then from here, tipping the chin all the way down across the chest to come onto the other side, left ear to left shoulder. And we'll do that a few times, rolling the head forward, ear to shoulder, chin to chest, ear to shoulder. One more time across. Good. Head back to center, clasp the hands together, take a big breath in, palms to chin, Exhale, press forward. Good. Inhale, lift the arms to the sky. And exhale, releasing the arms back to your side. Roll the shoulders back. Good. And one big shoulder shrug to finish off this class. Inhale, lift it up. And release. Thanks for joining me for this class. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.